Welcome back. You're still tuned in to Salam Media with myself, Salailo Makwidiri, and we'll be shedding our eyes now to another tragic incident that took place. We'll be speaking in a bit to eThekwini Secure, and they'll be giving us a bit of information on that. We'll be speaking to Chairperson of eThekwini Secure, Imtiaz Syed, who's going to be giving us insight on that fatal accident of the KZN Coast, where a fishing boat capsized during a sardine netting. Imtiaz, Jazakallah so much for giving us your time and welcome to Salam Media. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Jazakallah for having me.
Really tragic story there that we're hearing, fishing boat capsizing during a sardine netting. Can you give us a bit of insight on what happened in that case and how eThekwini Secured got involved?
Okay, basically, realistically speaking, we weren't aware of the incident until late last night when we got a call regarding the actual postmortem of the brother that passed away, who was 73 years old. It's being said that he actually had a heart attack on the boat, and therefore the boat then capsized, and obviously he then drowned. But the issue was that he was taken to the mortuary, wherein his postmortem was not delayed, rather, but the processes were taking too long. And then we got a call to try and intervene and see whether we could hurry that up. And that's when we became aware of the incident.
What do we know, thus far about, one of the reasons why, that postmortem was kind of not done in time and some of, the logistical, impediments to the release of it?
I think for now I'd be incorrect to speak on the issue directly, but just to say this, I mean, obviously in living in a country like South Africa, we have freedom of expression and religion, and ultimately one of our religious rights is that we bury immediately within the same day if possible. However, this particular incident, when the body did arrive at the mortuary, I don't think there was family available or something like that to firstly identify. But those arrangements have been made for 7:30 this morning, where the family needed to be there, identify the gentleman, and thereafter the PM could be conducted. So it should be on its way right now.
And we do know that, unfortunately, the gentleman that lost love was Mr. Gulam, Isak. If you can just give us a bit about him, if you've known him, what kind of a person was he, what role he played in the community, and just the legacy that he's leaving behind.
Personally, I don't know him, but from what I've heard, is that he's been doing sardine netting for quite a few years. He's an avid fisherman. He knows his way around a boat. And I don't think it's something that we can speak to in terms of saying that he was a novice at what he was doing. So ultimately, we don't know the circumstances by which he did pass away. It's all speculation at this time, and I don't think anyone that was on the boat has even given comment as yet. The matter obviously has to be dealt with via SAPS. Due to it being unnatural causes that he had passed away, but I think that's where we can speak to that, and that's as far as we can go with it.
And as it is usually the case, eThekwini Secure really involved with an array of issues happening in the eThekwini area. One of those is what has been coined the Instagram shootings. If you can just give us insight on that, 3 people losing their lives. Any background on that?
Okay, so on Friday we have had 2 different separate incidents. There was one incident in the Cato Crest area wherein an MK member was shot dead whilst returning home to dropping off his daughter at the creche. But later that afternoon, or that evening rather, there was a shooting in the Galway area where 3 youngsters, 16 years, 19 years, and 22 years old, were basically assassinated. There were 2 shooters that came into the building, pointed firearms at them, shot them, and then left the scene. Now, speculation on the floor is that there was some Instagram war, and I think this is something that we need to be very cognizant of, is that when groupings of boys get together, and there's groupings of boys in different areas, they tend to start arguing and fighting over Instagram and calling each other out. where the reality of this has now gone to, and previously I think we all used to call this cardboard gangsters or keyboard warriors and that kind of thing. The reality of the situation is that that very connotation of keyboard warriors and that kind of thing is now turning into reality, wherein those threats are becoming real and people are actually coming out and going to those places and actually shooting and killing innocent young lives. And that's really tragic. I mean, those mums and those children and those siblings really feel the loss. There was a vigil there held on Monday night for those kids. And it was really saddening to see that all of that happen, you know?
No, definitely, really, really sad and tragic. Moving away from crime now into natural disasters. We've all heard on the news, seen on various social media platforms, how a lot of areas, in the KZN region have been hit by the tornado and extreme weather conditions. How is eThekwini Secure, involved in trying to find some kind of relief and aid for those affected?
Okay, so basically what had happened, I think we're 10 days into post-tornado at the moment. On day one, which was that Monday night, I immediately got a hold of a few community leaders in the Tongaat area, and I said, you guys need to mobilize and organize yourself very quickly. Thereafter, we started out this whole community chat called Tornado Relief, and we then grouped them into different groupings. So one was community leaders, victims, volunteers, your NGOs and NPOs, and all of these different categories of people that would now be involved here. And just to give people a synopsis of the effect and impact in the Tongaat area, we've got an area called Sandfields, which is basically middle income to higher income homes, wherein most of their roofs and windows had been taken off. That community are recovering. Some of them are insured. Most of them aren't insured at the moment, but they are recovering. Parks Department, disaster management were out clearing the roads and that kind of thing. But the relief and the aid has been phenomenal. Communities by far and large have been coming in with pots of food and clothing and blankets. And I think on day one, the NGOs and the NPOs like Al-Imdad and Islamic Relief and AIR, which is Darul Ihsan, Human Aid, Caring Sisters Network, all of them got onto it with blankets and mattresses and all of that. And that was to take care of the immediate need. I then called for meetings, which was last week on Wednesday, with the NGOs as well as community leaders to say that we need to step very quickly into the second stage, which is rebuilding of the community, wherein there were different perceptions and different ideas that were thrown around. And ultimately, we realized that we need to firstly analyze the area, who needs what, where, and how. And then obviously, many organizations have now adopted different homes to try and give them some relief. But just to give you an understanding of the informal settlements in the area, there is an area which is the largest affected, which is called Magaveni. And in that informal settlement, there are about 15 to 20,000 residents that live there. Of those 20,000 residents, there are about 1,200 to 1,500 that are actually affected. Now, the problem that we find on the floor is that many relief and aid organizations are going out. And when you go into these areas, it becomes opportunistic, wherein you don't actually know who's been affected and who's not been affected. So my recommendation to anyone trying to provide aid within these areas are to speak to disaster management to get their needs. Because right now the need in the informal areas is not really food or hampers, because there's Red Cross on the floor, there's SASA on the floor providing daily meals 3 times a day, and those things have been taken care of. Blankets have already been given out. Now it's time to rebuild. So there's need for tin roof sheets, corrugated iron, cement, and those kinds of things. And the only people that can really give you those advances or that kind of information is disaster management, headed up by Mr. Vincent Ngubane.
And just lastly, we're in the winter season. During this time of the year, we see crime spiking because of how dark it can be, and just how late sunrise ultimately does come in. If there are any tips that you can give to the citizens on how to maneuver this time of the year where crime really, really starts to set in.
Yeah, I think, most importantly, and this message goes out to CPFs and CPF chairpersons and the executive committees, to say that criminals are very wary of the movements of the South African police service. Now, as we all know, that shift change in any police station is around the times of 6 to 6. We now recommend that SAPS management, with our recommendations, look at changing those shifts. So in that interim period, there should be some crime prevention vehicles out on the road to attend to complaints, because what we're seeing is that during the period of 5:30 to 6:30 in the morning or in the evening, that is when there's a prolific increase in crime. And I'm not talking about your petty theft and all of that. I'm talking about your serious and violent crimes that happen during those times in terms of hijackings and that kind of thing. So it's important for you to activate your neighborhood watch. I think the day for us to be speaking about activation of neighborhood watches are actually 10 years too far gone. And if those things haven't been already sorted out and organized within your community, then it's time to stand up and start doing those things, because it's important for us to start protecting ourselves in our communities for the benefit of our children moving forward.
I think we're going to leave it there. Imtiaz, thank you so much for giving us your time, and I really, really appreciate the work that you and your team are doing out in the KZN region.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
There you have it there. Imtiaz Syed coming to us live from the KZN, giving us insight on an array of issues, crime related, and also some natural disasters. We also the images coming out of the eThekwini region, Tongaat, and the devastation of those extreme weather conditions. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be chatting to Muslim Hands, and they'll be giving us their South African Qurbani campaign, and we'll be speaking to Tasneem Mullah, who's one of the campaign coordinators. She'll be giving us insight on what they have planned out for this time of the year, and most importantly, how you can get involved. More on that after this.